She has never met him. She has visited him every week for 40 years. The Concord scores every behavior it records against one question. What does the actor get back? 40 years of weekly visits to a stranger's grave returns nothing. No payment, no observance, no audience. For most of those 4 decades, nobody in her own town knew. This file is open for the same reason File 001 is. Not because the record is thin, because it's complete and it still doesn't explain her. Access granted. Dossier, Terra, File 002. Compiled contact +3. This file didn't come from a crash or a rescue or anything sudden enough to make command sit up. It came from 6 years of watching nothing happen until someone finally noticed what we'd actually been watching. Filed by Analyst Wren. Species Ithran. Assignment Long Baseline Cultural Survey, running both before and after this planet's first verified contact. This is her account, condensed from 6 years of field logs into the part that matters. I was not looking for this. I want that on the record before anything else. My assignment was baseline work, mortuary custom, funerary architecture, the shape of grief a species is willing to show in public versus what it keeps private. Concord wanted patterns, not people. 6 years of quiet instrumentation around a cemetery in a town too small to appear on most of this planet's own maps. Patterns are what you get when enough people do the expected thing. Enough times. A funeral. A visit on an anniversary. Flowers that fade and aren't replaced. That's the baseline. For 6 years, the models were right about almost everyone I logged. Almost everyone. There is a woman who comes every week, not on an anniversary, not on a holiday. Every week, in whatever weather this hemisphere is running that month, she walks to the same corner of the same cemetery and sits with a headstone that isn't marking anyone she is related to, was married to, or, as far as 40 years of town records show, ever spoke to while he was alive. His name was Elias Marsh. He does not appear in her family registry, in any legal capacity, in any record connecting the two of them at all before the week he died. I will not dramatize how he died here. The file isn't about that. It's about what happened after, which was nothing, for everyone except her. I have logged her in the depth of a hard winter, kneeling in snow that came up past her ankles, and in a summer heat advisory the local authorities were broadcasting warnings about, telling residents to stay indoors. She did not skip the visit either time. She adjusted her clothing. She did not adjust the schedule. I cross-referenced. I want to be thorough about that because I didn't trust the first read either. She was not paid to do this. There is no religious observance in her recorded practice that requires tending a stranger's grave, specifically on a weekly schedule for 4 decades. There is no social credit. I checked whether anyone in the town even knew. Almost no one did. I checked whether it was expected of her, recorded, praised by family or community. It was not. I checked for enrollment in any prayer group, memorial society, or paid caretaking service operating in the region. Nothing. I checked whether the town's tourism board had ever used the story for goodwill press. It hadn't, because until my survey flagged it, nobody outside a 4-block radius appeared to know it was happening at all. By every metric the Concord uses to score a behaviour's cost against its return, she has been paying a cost, with no return, to a stranger, in total privacy, for 40 years. Command's first instinct, when I flagged this, was to treat it as noise, an outlier that would resolve itself if I simply extended the observation window. I argued against closing the file. 6 years is not usually long enough to justify a limited contact request under Concord protocol. I made the case that whatever this was, it had already run 40 years without our intervention, and would likely outlast my posting here as well. I requested authorization for a single limited contact interview through an intermediary already cleared for low-profile survey work in the region. It was granted after review. I suspect this file is the reason it was granted. Command wanted the answer as much as I did. I didn't ask her what I actually wanted to know at first. I asked how she'd known him. She said she hadn't. Not really. She'd been a young volunteer at the hospital the week he was brought in, and there had been no family to call, no next of kin listed, nobody to sit with him at the end. So she had. And when it came time to bury him, the town handled it the way small towns handle a stranger with no family and no money, quickly, and then it stops thinking about it. She said someone had to keep thinking about it. She didn't see any reason that someone shouldn't be her, given she was already there. I asked the direct question then. 40 years is a long time to keep a promise nobody asked you to make, to someone who can't know whether you kept it. Why continue? She thought about that longer than she'd thought about anything else I'd asked. Then she said, if she stopped, he'd go back to being what he was before she started. A stranger nobody came for. And she'd decided a long time ago that wasn't going to happen to him twice. I asked one more question before ending the interview. Whether she had family of her own, a husband, children, siblings, anyone with a stronger claim on a weekly afternoon than a stranger's grave. She said she did, and that she saw them plenty and that this wasn't instead of anything. It was additional. I noted that as significant at the time, and I'll note it again here. This was not a substitute for connection she lacked elsewhere. It was simply one more commitment she had decided to carry on top of the ones anyone would already consider sufficient. I logged her earlier answer exactly as given, the same way Scout Wren logged hers in file 001, because I don't trust myself to improve on it, and because I suspect it will end up quoted in the same briefings hers was. It isn't as striking a line on the page. I think that's the point. The behaviour underneath it was never loud to begin with. This is not an isolated case. Once I knew what I was looking for, I found it in the town's own historical records. 3 other names, other decades, other keepers who came and eventually stopped, usually only because they died first. One predates my survey by decades. A man named Corwin, who kept the same watch over a different stranger's grave for 26 years, until his own name went on a headstone nearby. Someone started visiting his within the year. Nobody coordinates any of this. There is no institution behind it, no shared instruction set, no record of the practice being taught deliberately from one keeper to the next. It simply keeps happening, in a species we have modelled extensively for cost-benefit reasoning in every other domain we've surveyed. We do not have a category for a debt that isn't owed, paid indefinitely, to someone who will never know it was paid. Analyst Sol's full survey runs longer than this file. 6 years of baseline data, most of it exactly as unremarkable as baseline data is supposed to be. But this is the part worth keeping. 4 names, 4 keepers, 40 years, and counting, and not one of them left a reason behind that fits anything we've built to explain them. File 0. 01 asked why this species keeps showing up for the living when nothing requires it. This file asks the same question about the dead. We still don't have one model that answers both. File closed. Filed under unresolved. Cross-referenced file 001.